Workington. ICE futures canola contracts are higher Friday morning, setting fresh contract highs in many months amid persistent prairie drought concerns. Canola up 19 to its $30 daily limit, November up $30 at $844 per ton. January it's up $27.70 at $834. Forecasts calling for hot temperatures and only scattered precipitation across most of Western Canada over the next week will do a little to alleviate the drought concerns, with that weather causing many market participants to downgrade their expectations on the size of this year's canola crop. Early strength in Chicago soy oil provided additional support, but a firmer tone in the Canadian dollar as it moves back above 80 US cents did put some pressure on values. In the US, soybeans are higher, but corn is down and wheat mixed. Soybeans up 2 cents in the November contract at $13.21 per bushel. Weekly U.S. soybean export sales of just under 200,000 tons of old and new crop business combined were at the lower end of trade guesses, but the USDA announced additional flash sales this morning of 228,000 tons to Mexico. Forecasts calling for relatively favorable Midwestern weather did pressure values somewhat, but dryness in the northern growing regions in the Dakotas and into Canada was supportive. The USDA releases its monthly supply-demand report on Monday, and pre-report positioning should be a feature today. Corn, it is lower. The September contract down 7 cents at $5.29 per bushel. Forecasts look relatively favorable for crop development across most of the Corn Belt over the next week. Argentina's corn harvest is running a bit behind schedule, but yield reports out of the country are beating expectations so far. Brazil's second corn crop is also reportedly looking better than earlier thought, despite droughts and then frost during the growing season. Weekly U.S. corn export sales of about 400,000 tons of old and new crop business combined were in line with expectations. Wheat futures are mixed. Minneapolis spring wheat holding on to small gains, up a half cent in September at $8.05 per bushel. Kansas City down a quarter cent in September at $5.87 3/4. Chicago wheat, it's down 5 3/4 cents in September at $6.12 1/4 per bushel. The advancing U.S. winter wheat harvest put some pressure on prices, while persistent dryness concerns in the spring wheat growing areas were supportive. Weekly U.S. wheat export sales came in at just under 300,000 tons. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday, July 9th. In Winnipeg, for Markets Farm, I'm Phil Front-Workington.
The demands and long days of the harvest season are ahead. So now's the time to get the equipment you need to work more productively and harvest more savings too. Visit Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John during New Holland Harvest Days for more ways to work your best and save. You'll find great deals on select New Holland tractors, hay tools, and harvesting equipment, including 0% financing and cash back. Stop by Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John today for details. But hurry, Harvest Days end September 30th, 2021.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Good morning and welcome to Moose Talks. Today we have just one very important, very special guest, as a lot has happened in the city recently, including a very public conflict between the city of Fort St. John and the North Peace Cultural Society. We'll be discussing that and several other things, including looking forward some things to be positive about over the summer. And to talk about all those things, we're now joined by the mayor of Fort St. John, Lori Ackerman. Mayor Ackerman, thank you so much for being on Moose Talks once again.
Thanks, Doug. We'll share recipes later.
Absolutely. We were talking recipes right as the show was starting. Anyway, we'll get on to the serious business to start things off. This conflict with the North Peace Cultural Society. I imagine this is blown unexpectedly out of proportion. I don't think anyone was expecting it to kind of go the way it has. I wanted to kind of get your take on this situation as it's unfolded and sort of how you're feeling about what happened and how maybe things didn't go as you expected.
Well, so first of all, to call it a conflict might be, a little out there, because this isn't the only agreement that the city has ended, and this is an end to a management agreement. It's not an end to the services that will be made available to the city of Fort St. John. Our staff met and were seeking value in that arrangement and felt that there was simply no movement on that. And so they came back to council and a decision was made. So as you know, they are coming forward to us on Monday as a delegation to City Council to discuss apparently 3 letters. So those letters are on the agenda that is published now, and so I would encourage people to listen in the podcast. It will be live, and then the podcast will be there later. So I should say, so that everyone knows, it was never our intention to displace any of the groups. In fact, we've got a job posting out for managing the arts, and we've actually got some really good applicants that have submitted their resumes to take Fort St. John to another level with arts and culture, and not just contained within that building, but to really expand the access to arts and culture. And as you're probably aware, because you've been in the community for a few years, we did have the CDI do the economic and social framework for the city of Fort St. John. And it does speak to arts and culture, as well as some cross-cutting measures that really, when you're building community, we need to understand. And, when you're trying to build placemaking in a community, it's important to know that the places where people gather can either create a pathway for community participation or barriers. And so we're looking at this as an opportunity to really expand some things, because as we know, the 40-year LNG export is going to really impact our community, and we're already seeing some growth and some new businesses coming to town that I've met with, and their concern is recruiting to the community. And so if we don't have these amenities firing on all cylinders, then the community is what suffers in a very robust way.
I have to ask, you mentioned the arts and culture management position. I think that's what it was called. People who currently have jobs with the North Peace Cultural Center, is the expectation that they're going to keep their jobs if they want them, or is there going to be kind of a review process for everybody? Can you speak to that at this point?
Well, what I can share with you is that the city recognizes that there's BCGEU members there. The city of Fort St. John is one of a handful of communities throughout British Columbia that has BCGEU staff. Mm-hmm. And so we have a good relationship with BCGEU, and we're having that conversation.
Okay. Again, I mentioned kind of how it kind of blew up from you. Were you expecting the passionate response from even just people who aren't in the cultural society, from arts groups, from just people who go to the center? Were you expecting that response that you've seen both in defending the city's move and kind of in support of the society and sort of everything they did? Was that expected?
Well, I know that as a patron of that building, I did get an email on my personal email instructing me on how to write a letter to Mayor and Council. Yes, I expected to see emails coming in. Considering that the email had gone out through that avenue, I was expecting a lot more. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people in our community that have also extended their gratitude in a more private way, and face-to-face conversations that, they just don't want to be out there publicly about it. So in absolutely every situation that we're up against, you've always got 17 to 20% of the people who are totally in favor of something, 17 to 20% totally against something. And, that middle ground, about 60 to 66% of the people say, could you get out of my way? I'm trying to get to work because I can't recruit people to this community. And that's where we're trying to go with this, is to build a robust community where we can recruit people to.
Were other options discussed for the future that maybe didn't include the North Peace Cultural Society in the same way that they are now, that maybe didn't have the city handling the administration of the building, or was this seen as, this is what we have to do to move forward, there is no really other option?
Well, so there wasn't an agreement. Mm-hmm. The agreement ended in November of 2020, and our staff met with them and looked at moving forward, looked at the value in that agreement. And so we either renew the agreement or we end the agreement. Like, there's just two decisions. And anyone who has been in a situation where they've been a signatory to an agreement understands that there's times when those agreements just do not get renewed.
All right. I want to bring this up very quickly. There was mention of a possible conflict of interest, given that, the situation with the library and their financial situation that they've been in, we've known about and talked about for some time. And your husband, Andy, was on the board, I believe. I don't know if he is anymore. I have to ask how much the current situation at the library weighed in on the decision for the city to move forward with this, because that, of course, that news came out, I believe, last year, and into this year we were talking about it, and then this happened. Was that a major factor in the city's decision to move on and take over administration of the building?
Well, so let's discuss the conflict of interest. First of all, there wasn't one, because we were looking at the agreement with the Cultural Society. Mm-hmm. And so that had nothing to do with, what they had going on with the library. Should one nonprofit be hampering another nonprofit from being open? I can tell you that we got more emails about the viability of the library than we have about ending this agreement. Mm-hmm. And that's when we had to explain to people that the library is not a municipal library, it's a library association. So, the fact that they've thrown my husband's name out is an absolute red herring. There are people who are on both societies or were on both societies during this entire conversation. There's never been any complaints about, my husband, Andy, when he has voluntarily facilitated the North Peace Not-for-Profit Network of Professionals, or done grant writing for the nonprofit. So I'm really saddened by the fact that we have a group of people who have decided to take apart someone who has given his life to this community.
All right. I wanted to ask this as well. Is the city using this, the way this situation is unfolded, are you learning from this? Are you at council, as the administration of the city, learning from this about how maybe dealings in the future could go perhaps better if this happened or if that happened? Is it a learning experience?
No, because we're responding to what happened. Mm-hmm. We dealt with it the way we've always been told. You don't have value in these contracts, and so we sought value, didn't find it, ended a contract. And so how many meetings do we need to have to seek that value, right? It's, I guess, when you look at the division within the community, you really have to, my dad said to me, sweetie, when you are listening to someone talk about a person or a situation, you're learning more about them than you are about the person or the situation. And I think that the reaction from the cultural society has been one that we've had to defend ourselves. And so we will continue to do that because we saw no value in that agreement.
Okay, and one final question on this, and we'll move on. What do you say now to placate the community members who have expressed concern over how the situation is changing, may change, what they see as a big change, and what it means to have the city running the North Peace Cultural Center moving forward?
So we have significant experience in running facilities in this community, as you know. We had one person reach out to us and say, I want to meet with you about this. And we said, you know what, okay. So our CAO and myself met with this individual earlier this week, had a heart-to-heart, and they got it. They understood because we were having these a face-to-face conversation. There's very few people, if any, in this community that I have said, no, I don't have time to meet. It might be next week. It could be 2 weeks from now, depending on what my schedule looks like. But I don't say no to people. There's been times when I've just had too much coffee in the day because I've met with so many people. But the reality is I'm more than happy to have face-to-face conversations, whatever that may look like as we move on from COVID.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break here, Mayor Ackerman, but we'll be sticking around and have more to talk to you about just after this, after these few messages right here on Moose Talks.
The North Peace Leisure Pool has a variety of activities and programs happening throughout the year. This month, there's plenty happening at the pool for the whole family. Here's what's coming up.
As restrictions begin to improve, the North Peace Leisure Pool is working to get all your favorite programs back. Things like fitness classes, dive boards, pool features, and the return of regular lesson programming.
For the full schedule of programs and activities at the North Peace Leisure Pool, visit the city's website at fortstjohn.ca.
There's always something going on in the energetic city, and the staff from the City of Fort St. John Recreation Department have planned a variety of exciting programs and events. Here's what's coming up.
Keep your kids entertained this summer with fun and adventure kits. Every week, a themed kit will be available with all the items you need to join the fun. These free kits will be on a first-come, first-served basis.
For more information on this event, view the Recreation and Leisure Guide at fortstjohn.ca or follow the City of Fort St. John Recreation on Facebook.
Could your hair use a little extra love? Then show your hair some care with this summer with the Hairbin Beauty Barber and Spa. The summer leader sale is on now with 20% off all leaders. Redken, Biolage, J. Beverly Hills, Joico, 11, and more. All 20% off. And with the largest retail collection of shampoos and conditioners in the city, you'll have plenty to choose from. The Hairbin Beauty Barber and Spa, people's best choice salon, spa, and estheticians again for 2020. Follow on Facebook or visit hairbin.com.
Do you have some good news you'd like to share with the community?
I've got good news.
We here at Moose FM know that the news has been bleak lately and want to spread some positivity. Whether you're fundraising for the SPCA or saw some kids selling lemonade in your neighborhood, we want to hear about it. Email us at news@moosefm.ca and we'll share your good news right after the 7:30 news and online at moosefm and energeticcity.ca. Good news brought to you by Frontier Law. We look forward to hearing from you.
One thing is for sure, riggers get filthy, and Soap City Cleaning is in the business of making filth disappear. We provide industrial rags and wipes to oil field companies in the North Peace region, along with cleaning of coveralls, gloves, and any other oil field attire. Plus, with our pickup and delivery service, we have the most efficient turnaround times for even the busiest rigs. One thing we've never said is, that's too filthy. No job is too big or small at Soap City Cleaning. See for yourself on 95th Ave or online at soapcitycleaning@gmail.com.
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at energeticcity.ca.
Welcome back to Moose Talks. I am Dub Craig. We're talking with Fort St. John Mayor Lori Ackerman today about all things Fort St. John. Mayor, I wanted to talk a bit about the fireworks, the Canada Day fireworks that happened. It was a wonderful display, but there was quite a debate raging on given the circumstances of a province-wide fire ban, which doesn't affect municipalities, as I understand it, and also just the nature of... I'm sorry to cut you off there, but also just kind of the nature of the fact that the fireworks were still virtual in spite of the fact that restrictions are lifted. So I wanted to get your kind of comments on that. People were kind of negative about the fact that they were still virtual. Was there anything you guys could have done, or were your hands tied? It was just too late. There's no way you could have facilitated making it happen so people could attend it in person.
So honestly, if I could have switched things within 24 hours, I would have. If the province had given us even a week's notice that July 1st would be opening up, I believe me, July 1st is a day that our community takes huge pride in. And I know that our First Nations were looking forward to participating in it, and they did virtually. And so at any rate, so municipalities that have a fire bylaw, they are able to have backyard campfires, etc. So Fort St. John has a fire bylaw. We're allowed to have backyard campfires. Our fire department is completely in charge of the fireworks. We have people who are trained for that task. And if there was an issue, and they are constantly having conversations with the provincial colleagues, with Wildfire BC, if there was an issue, and if our chief phoned us up, at the 11th hour and said, can't do this, then we would understand and respect that from our professionals down at the fire hall. There was a lot of people that have had a really tough year. And finding any opportunity to celebrate is a huge opportunity. Just so there is always the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you're not going to have everyone engaging on social media because they just don't want to get beat up.
Speaking of fireworks, you guys did announce as well that you're going to do New Year's fireworks. I believe in part to sort of try to quell people from setting off fireworks on their own, which is dangerous and illegal in the city. Talk about that decision to put on New Year's fireworks. Has this ever happened in Fort St. John? And if it did, why did it stop for a while?
You know what? Not to my knowledge. It may have happened at some point. Simple reality is we have a very young community, and I would really welcome an opportunity for kids to not have to stay up late to take a look at fireworks. I know that people put off or set off fireworks illegally, and it's I don't think they completely understand that it's their house insurance that would be paid for my house if it burnt down, and that's why the city of Fort St. John takes on the role of putting fireworks in place. And so honestly, December 31st, we could set the fireworks off at 7 o'clock at night and have it over and done with, and then that could be the kickoff to the New Year's celebrations, and the kids can go to bed and on. But on July 1st, we're up until late just to watch the fireworks, and sometimes that makes for crabby kids and the dogs and everything else that goes on. And so I think that having these 2 days set in stone and allowing the community to prepare for them is a much better way to go.
Is there any discussion about maybe more fireworks, even more holidays to have fireworks set off?
No, there wasn't, and there wasn't any conversation around it. I'm not sure, what other fireworks or what other holidays there would be.
All right. I want to move on to this one too, and this is going back a bit too, but there was a local media outlet that wrote an article kind of around the time when we were trying to ramp up vaccination and the vaccination program here in Fort St. John. Anyway, the article suggested that you weren't doing enough to promote the COVID-19 vaccination program in your capacity as the elected leader of City Council. What did you think of that? I just kind of want to get your comment and your response to that.
Well, my response to that twist on the article was, geez, if it bleeds, it leads logic around, and so I'm just not sure if that was an appropriate way to go. I got both of my shots and posted them on my social media, and so I'm not sure what else they want to do. I hung my pom-poms up years ago, and when this particular media outlet asked the Minister about me not doing this. The minister actually quashed that and indicated that if there was ever if he was ever thinking of an advocate in Northeast BC, my name would certainly be at the top of the list. So I really didn't pay much attention to it.
Fair enough, Mayor. Thank you for that. You had said at the start, right before we went on air, you wanted to kind of end on a more positive note. You've got some things to look forward to, and you want to talk about kind of before you go for the day. So why don't you tell us about these looking forward, these positive things?
Absolutely. So I had an absolutely fabulous conversation with Paulette Flamond. Paulette is an elected official with Métis Nation BC. She gave me this fabulous coffee table book that is chock full of information on the Métis. And as we learn about our First Nations neighbors, the Métis are absolutely a culture that we need to learn and understand about. And I'm looking forward to working with Paulette on some initiatives in Fort St. John, because we have a significant Métis population here. I've had a lot of conversations, and I will continue to have a lot of conversations about the Blueberry River First Nations court case. And just to let people know that I do have meetings, I'm trying to keep up to date on this. There's absolutely, the treaty needs to be respected. The communities, both First Nations and non-First Nations communities, are very embedded in the economy of oil and gas here. And so really encouraging the communities that are engaged in or involved in this court case and the province to get together and get started on this. The judge did say that the province does have the authority to make approvals, but they do also need to understand that there is a treaty. And my thoughts go to principles number 5 and 6 and the principles of truth and reconciliation. And 5 is that, basically we need to straighten out the uneven path that the First Nations have been on in Canada. And the 6th one is about mutually respectful relationships. And so just want to let people know that that is definitely a file that is on my desk. Had a fabulous conversation with some of the senior staff at Northern Health here locally. We've got, we're looking at how to increase the vaccination rates here. They're looking at some new and innovative approaches. They really like the drive-in. A lot of people really like the drive-in, but they're going to be looking at something a little more bricks and mortar rather than the tents, because those were really hot and didn't provide a lot of shelter. There's going to be a vax ban. So if there's an organization or a business that wants their entire team to be vaccinated, they can. If there's going to be a golf tournament or whatever, then just call them up and have the vax van show up there. The pocket cards, there was conversation around whether or not you could get pocket cards. They did have pocket cards, and then some of them were showing up on eBay. And so I have my 2 yellow pieces of paper in my wallet, and until something comes up either electronically or otherwise, that is what I'll be using. Working on recruiting and retaining the staff in emergency, the operating room, and ICU. We've got the baccalaureate nursing program starting up this fall, and that's going to be really important to get going. The recreational department, I'm moving on here because you're going to need to wrap up. Party in the Park, the schedule is out there, and so anyone that is new to town, they've got little kids, go onto our Facebook page, the City of Fort St. John Recreation Facebook page, and you're going to see that. There is, and another point, another young lady who has grown up here in Fort St. John, Samantha Wigglesworth, has her first art exhibit, and so I've watched Samantha grow up over the years. I think it's absolutely important that people go and take a look at how she has evolved with her art. Congratulations to Margaret Little for being the Fort St. John Cooperative Association Community Champion. Margaret and her husband Jim are absolutely fabulous in this community. They do so much for the community, in particular for seniors, but I tell you, if there's a job to do, they do it. Just a kudos to the Doig River First Nations for understanding the needs at the Women's Resource Center and contributing to that. Doug at Safeways, 10 years, holy cow. If you ever need your day brightened, you just go into Safeways and Doug will tell you all about the most recent hockey game or what's coming up.
Absolutely.
Teams. Teams opened up very quietly in Fort St. John. That is the Aeromedical Society, and so go to team.ca, which is aam.ca and understand what is coming to Fort St. John. Just want you to know that our recreational department has shifted on Friday today to indicate the different restriction updates with COVID, with how our facilities are being done. And I will just wrap it up with, oh my God, we have 11 ministers that we are planning to speak to at UBCM about a variety of things, and that includes appropriate and adequate services to the city and the region as we move forward in the next few years.
Wonderful. When is UBCM, Mayor Ackerman?
Third week. Oh, so UBCM is the third week of September, but they've done the ministers' meetings the week before. Because UBCM is still virtual, they didn't have the time to set up. So they just made the decision to go virtual again this year.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to following up with that and a lot of the things you talked about looking forward. And Mayor Ackerman, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.
Absolutely. That's Mayor Lori Ackerman of Fort St. John. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Moose Talks right after this.
After a full day of back-to-school shopping, relax at one of Grand Prairie's preferred hotels. With any stay, receive a $50 gift certificate to be used at any merchant in the Prairie Mall. Plus, you'll be entered into the draw for a Prairie Mall prize pack and shopping spree valued at $2,000. Details and entry online, gprda.com.
Shop and stay at the Sandman Hotel, downtown Grand Prairie. Amenities include the fitness center, pool, plus dining options, Denny's, and the Bar 1 Lounge. Call 780-513-5555.
Rip Shoe Renew has been saving soles in the piece for over 40 years. The shoe store has an excellent selection of Merrill shoes and Red Wing boots for all of your work and weekend needs. If you don't want to part with your beloved shoes or boots, have Frank take a look and get them repaired. He specializes in men's, ladies, and cowboy boots too. Call Frank at 250-782-8283. Save your soles at Rip Shoe Renew, located in Dawson Creek at the Co-op Mall, and check them out at ripshoerenew.com.
If you're looking for hassle-free internet services, call the Peace Region Internet Society today. With coverage throughout most of the Peace, PRIS can get you connected quickly without the hassle of contracts or bundles. Visit PRIS.ca or call 1-800-768-3311 for more information.
Our community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
Our thanks again to Mayor Lori Ackerman for joining us today. The Moose FM Summer Cruiser is out and about in Fort St. John again this summer, and Cruiser Spencer will be around town tomorrow and every Saturday telling you about events and things happening that you need to know about. So if you've got a local event that you'd like Spencer to come by, maybe shoot a video, certainly talk about it on the radio, you got to email him to let him know about it. You can reach him at spencer@moosefm.ca. That does it for this episode. Moose Talks is produced by Trey Lopashinsky and Adam Rayburn. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Moose Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace.
This is Moose Country.